Hey, how you doing, Alex? We're gonna go ahead and look at some of your videos from this past week. But most of our time this week's or for this video, is gonna be more so spent on new training block stuff. So first off, I didn't have a great idea of how you ended up finishing off the last block because I didn't have the last few weeks of data for some reason. I'm not sure if you sent me the wrong version or what, but I didn't have any of the loads here, which isn't a big deal. Just having most of the weeks at least allows me to know the general progression of things and how things end up going. But I didn't get to see what you ended up with. But regardless, just seeing you train in person from time to time and seeing the general progression in the beginning was good enough to plan out the next block. The biggest thing you'll notice is not a ton of changes. Really, not a ton of changes. I think the last block went fantastically. I think that your body isn't really fully adapted to using some of these new specialty bars and handling them in the rep schemes that you were given. So not a whole lot of changes. I think you have plenty of room to progress in these variations. So obviously a lot of rep changes to give your body something new to adapt to. But yeah, transformer bar squat, I can see nothing changed there. 4 sets of 5, 1 set of 2. No longer getting in pause work on that day. Glute ham raise with tempo. That's a little bit of change. Cable oblique twist. That'll be a fun one. Bench. Yeah, nothing a whole lot different this day. We're getting rid of the sumo deadlift RDLs. I don't feel like that connected too crazy well. I think we're just going to go back to normal sumo deadlift, practice our setup, hopefully handle some pretty heavy loads by the end of it. 3 sets of 3. Snatch grip deadlift off blocks. We're continuing those. It's going to be awesome. We may add some volume or a few additional sets to that as we get later down the block. Sticking with double bar tempo squats. The ab rollout with lateral motion, it's not really much of a name to it, but basically it's when you do that ab rollout and just a little bit of lateral motion at the end really stimulates the obliques real well. Just make sure that it's only at the end, that's not too much of a great degree. Barbell overhead press at 2 sets of 10, 100% just some volume work. Yeah, definitely don't go too heavy there. Caddy skull crusher, that's gonna be a new one. Really like those ones. Should be able to handle some pretty decent weight. Cable lateral delt raises, that'll be another good one. We're gonna stick with belt squats for a little bit longer. Conventional deadlifts, dropping the pause work, just doing a heavy backloaded double. Getting into some single arm lat pull downs, which will be really nice, and some overhand ease bar curls. But most of it is fairly similar to last block. I think this is going to be another really good one for you. You'll be able to handle a little heavier loads this time around. Made some changes into based off of the notes you gave me on our phone call we had this last week here. It's made a few small changes due to that, but more than anything, it's going to be fairly similar, but new rep schemes for your body to adapt to, so I expect this one to be a really good one for you, though, handling a little heavier load this time around, and then also obviously adapting to the few new variations that are in there. Double bar front squats, looking good. Obviously, we're going to continue a little bit longer with these. Probably the one note I would have is going a little slower in the eccentric. Make it a true 4 count if we can. I really like tempo front squats. They're going to be very beneficial for growing them quads even further than they already have. But overall, pattern-wise, looks really good. Overhead press also looking very good. One piece of advice I'll give you for the ab rollout, for the overhead press, you already seem to be doing pretty well. But once you get into those higher loads and those lower rep schemes, like 3 sets of 3 we're doing the next block, it's going to be really important to inflate and brace real well at the top. It'll kind of potentiate the next rep real well. You won't be able to do so or inflate or brace nearly as well once you have it like in a static motion right here. Once you get it to the top, though, make sure we're filling that belt, really focusing on that diaphragmatic breathing, a full breath into that belt, bracing, drawing down hard, and then right when you get done with that, we're going into the next rep. For the 3 sets of 3, like I said, I want to push quite a bit and load. 2 sets of 10 back off stuff, just going to be 100% volume, extra volume for the delt, so don't worry about pushing that whatsoever. But learning little nuances like that to the overhead press is going to be really important to handling said load. It's going to carry over beautifully to strength and other lifts too, specifically the bench press. But looking at this here, I really like the positions you're achieving. The position at the bottom specifically is very nice and stacked. I like that a lot. Probably the one thing that I say we can improve on just a little bit is going to be just making sure we set a full and very nice brace at the top, and then having that potentiate the next rep. And we are sticking with these a little bit longer, too, into the next block. I love these. I absolutely love these for a few different reasons. One, They provide a killer stimulation, a killer stimulus to your chest, your pecs. Really, really good for development there. The extra range of motion is extremely challenging. Basically, every benefit that comes with the bench press in terms of muscle development is kind of even more so with this piece of equipment that provides extra range of motion. Then obviously you not being on the arch provides even greater range of motion, and then you not being able to have any leg drive makes you depend on your upper body. So it's a really good development tool. The one thing I would just mention here is that looking at this, there's probably just a few reps, not all of them by any means, but there's just a few reps where we lack depression, just a little bit in the scapula. So just make sure we're resetting it if we need to and keeping it the best we can as we're doing reps. And then with the lower rep scheme we're doing next block should be a lot easier to do so. We're going from 10 to 8, so it'll be a little bit more manageable with a little lower volume per set. I like the way these are looking too. I would mention just a quick note here. If you wanted to from time to time, especially you with your current goals and training stats, if you want to from time to time though, or if you wanted to just in general kind of add an extra exercise slot to do lateral delt raises or some exercise of that nature, it's a little more isolation work, a little bit more for the aesthetics. If you want to add a little bit more of that work after looking at the first week, just let me know because I can absolutely be done real quick. Obviously, we changed it to lateral delt raises with a cable for this next block, which I think is just going to be awesome variation for a nice little change up. We can also have another exercise slot on another day where we do a little bit of more delt work with the Havocs, those Havoc dumbbells that you're carrying right there, because I really like the benefit from those two. I really like doing them with those as well. So if you want to get a little extra volume, just let me know. These are looking nice too. One thing I would just want to throw in there, give a shot to, for some reason, I don't like using that ball. And that's just me. That's just me. It could be my build, my anatomical variation of me. But with that being said, I really like grabbing the top of the cable. It's just something I picked up from Bodybuilder once that I just fucking fell in love with. I feel I can get a little bit better kind of extension at the bottom, get a little better, more quality contraction than grabbing something like this, like that ball. Just feel like it lacks the range of motion go into with the grabbing the top of the cable, as well as just not quite as quality of contraction, but that's completely me personally. If you get a better one from that ball, keep on using it, keep doing you. But just one note here that you could try is grabbing like, let me see if I can get a picture of this, grabbing the top of that cable, like where that ball is. The only thing that sucks is if you go to a shitty gym where the cable is frayed and coming out of the rubber that's supposed to protect it, and you can cut your hand, but that won't be the case here. Grabbing the top of that ball though and just doing it without any attachment, I fucking love those. Really, really like them. So just go ahead and give those a try. See how you feel about them. Conventional's looking good too. We definitely have plenty of room to progress here. I think even after last week, we could have pushed it a little bit more. So dropping down in reps, the next block should allow you to handle even heavier weights and go for some really big numbers, especially with the back off double work. The back off double work will allow you to set some really big goals there. And that's one thing I want to throw in right now too, is for obviously 3 sets of 5. I always like to set up my training blocks or training block goals the first week of the training block. By the end of the training block, at the end of about 5 weeks, what do you want to hit for sets of 5? What do you want to hit for that back off double? Obviously, the back off double goal can be pretty extreme because you're only doing one of them, but it's backed off, so can't be too crazy. You'll be a little fatigued at that point. But yeah, I always like setting some pretty aggressive goals there, so definitely feel free to do the same. Just ask yourself, what do you want to hit? What's realistic for 5 weeks from now for a set of 5? And same thing for the double. Really want to push it there and hit some big numbers by the end, though. These are looking good as well. One note I had is that I want you to go ahead and try this machine over here, the one where you're sitting facing towards it, one of our new machines. Just give that a try for the close grip handles that I mentioned in the notes of the new block. So there's a variation on Friday or Saturday. We're doing a row variation. Go ahead and give those a try, though. Those are specifically what I had in mind for this next upcoming block. And if you don't mess around that without a whole lot, I really like the motion that machine gives. But you can also stick with this one as well. No big deal. But go ahead and try that for at least one training session and see how you feel about that. Belt squats looking great. We went ahead and dropped the reps a little bit next block, so you should be able to handle a little heavier weight. Make sure we're definitely doing that too and not just dropping the reps and doing the same weight. And we are going to get to a point here soon. We're going to continue belt squats for quite some time. I really like these for you specifically. I don't think there's any exercise that adds mass and gives yourself as good of a stimulus as a squat does. But what's nice about these is it doesn't come with the loading on the spine, so you can do a lot more volume with a lot less risk of injury or a lot less fatigue. So we're going to go ahead and continue these for quite some time now. Next training block, we're doing 4 sets of 8. And then the one that follows that will likely do some front-loaded, back-loaded work, getting getting into some more heavier volume, as well as dropping the reps down, doing some pause work with that too, adding some fun little variations to that. So continue to get used to it, continue to progress in it, and yeah, just let me know if you need any help there, because I know those can kind of suck from time to time, but man, are they beneficial. These are also looking really good. One thing I did notice is I'm not sure if I specified last block on what setting to put it on. It seems like for the setting that you chose, it looks like a 2.5C. So it looks like the front squat setting, which obviously a killer setting, but you'll be able to handle a little bit more load with the back squat setting, and that's what specifically I want to do on our next block's Monday squat primary day. We're going to do a back squat setting transformer bar squat, so you'll be able to handle a lot more load with that. So yeah, definitely hit some big numbers here. Get used to that variation, get used to that change. You'll likely have to hinge over quite a bit more because mimicking a back squat, but the mechanics will change just a little bit along with your ability to load it better. And it looks like for this training days, you went ahead and used the shittier handles, the lower handles, the ones that provide extra range of motion. So looking at a few different times that you did these within the last training block, a few times you use the high handles, a few times you use the low handles. We're going to do specifically the lower handles going in the next training block, which is the ones you're doing there. They provide extra range of motion. And yeah, so they're a little harder to do in general. But we're going to go ahead and use the lower handles, go into the next block, which should provide extra range of motion and get a little better stimulus out of it. Let me know if you have any questions on that, and I definitely want to push split squats quite a bit more next block. We're going to drop the reps down, so it'll be easier to do so. But let me know if you have any questions on those. It looks a lot better compared to previous weeks because you are a lot closer to the back leg, and you are achieving a lot more stack position as well in these reps. Yeah, these are looking real good. And I'm happy we went over these. I think that little change with the toe position on the backstop will help a lot with extra gastroc stimulation. I really like that change. I think they're easier to do too, so that's also nice. But it does look like in these reps, you're doing somewhat of a tempo, which isn't a bad thing. I actually love doing tempos on these. They just make it a lot more challenging. But I wrote out next block specifically doing tempo glute ham raises. So since you've already been kind of doing those, I would also encourage you that if they're getting too easy, or if you're getting to a point where you feel like you can load it, definitely feel free to load it. And you can start with as little as 5-10 pounds. But yeah, we're definitely going to do tempos next block, specifically 5-count eccentric. You're doing about 3-count eccentric there, so you're almost there as it is. But don't be afraid to load it too. Probably start with 5-10 pounds, try to progress throughout. I'd like to get to a point where you're holding like a 25 to 35, maybe even 45-pound plate in your hands as you're doing these, which is a really good marker. Bench press, definitely one of the most improved lifts next to pretty much everything. But bench press, definitely one of the most improved. Really like the ways these are looking. Beautiful stack positions there in the bottom. Nice scapular compression. I like the leg drive position. Not a whole lot going wrong here. In fact, nothing going wrong here from what I can see. In fact, that's what actually Charlie, that woman lifter that works at Kabuki Strength, mentioned the other day. She said that she really liked your bench press. Nice little compliment because she's a really good lifter. She's got multiple world records and been doing it for a really long time. Specifically in the bench press. She's the best bench presser in her division in the entire world, so that's pretty cool too. So yeah, it's looking really good, and getting those kind of compliments obviously is a nice little touch. Love the way these are looking. I'm sure you have a similar opinion to me on these. These are my favorite row variation right now. I'm really high on these. The extra range of motion in a position where you don't have to load the spinal erectors, you don't have to worry about staying in a perfect position because you got your chest on the bench. Just ends up being such a quality contraction. We're going to keep up with these quite a bit longer because, like I said, I love them, especially for you and your goal specifically. But we drop the reps down a little bit more. You should be able to handle a bit heavier weights next block. And then, yeah. So this will be a really good one to continue on with. Dips are also looking real good. I see your load in the neck there, which is nice. He's looking real good. We're continuing on with dips too. Drop the reps like everything else a little bit so we can handle heavier load. I would like to get to a point where I think you've been consistently using the weights around your neck, which typically stimulates a lot more pec minor involvement, a little less tricep, a little more pec minor. Just changes kind of the percentages of muscle used just a little bit by being a little bit more hinged over, which, obviously not a bad thing whatsoever. If you need the benefit of more triceps, maybe do the belted version. If you want to have your training stimulus, probably a belted version. But if you're looking for your pec minor, just pec in general development specifically, then the chains can be a nice variation as well. But soon, for the sets of 10 that we're doing next block, just go ahead and do whatever variation you're more comfortable with. But soon, we're going to go ahead and switch over to belted specifically, and we're going to get into a lot lower rep schemes, a lot higher sets, and work more specifically on strength adaptations from dips. So it'll carry over beautifully into other lifts, such as the dips and bench press. But that's coming in a few blocks from now, so don't worry about that now. But continue on with chains if you'd like, or belts, or whatever you prefer, or whatever feels more comfortable or makes more sense to the goals you have in development. And these are looking beautiful too. Last note I have is that I went ahead and left a rear delt, any rear delt variation slot for you. Actually, never mind. I took that out. We're doing Duff and Upright Rows specifically. I took that out. That was my before version. But Duff and Upright Rows, I hope those are looking good too. I think they're a lot more comfortable to do with the purple strap we have at Kabuki. Also, make sure that if you aren't already, I don't know for sure if you are, I've never seen you do them at Kabuki, but be sure to do them on some kind of box that we get a fuller range of motion. And be sure to connect that purple strap to a kettlebell. Putting it around plates ends up being a kind of a pain in the ass. You end up having to slide them back and forth. If you put it around a kettlebell, you can get a really, really good motion, really good contraction. Don't have to worry about it sliding around nearly as much. It also load them a little heavier in my experience. So yeah, definitely give that a try if you haven't already. And I think that's about it for this week. A little longer video this week. That's my bad. Go ahead, go over the plane training block real quick. If you have any questions on any of those exercises, please just let me know. Give me a shout out. And if you ever want to meet to cover anything this week, just let me know. We can absolutely do that. Stay safe out there.